her. Let's get at her. It is another episode of the Mainly Broncos podcast, and it is one for the ages. That is how we will describe it. It is one for the ages, and it is one that regular season, postseason, it is one that we are going to be remembering for a very long time. And it's gonna be one that we're gonna have a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions. So make sure you stay with us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right off the bat for the MHRT Network page. We are pushing for 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we also created a YouTube channel for the Mainly Broncos YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button for that. I know it's early in the process for that, but I know we can get some subscribers over there. So with the subscribe on that, we are also going live everywhere on these X handles, if you will. So we're going live on the MHRT Network handle. We are going live on my personal handle, which is at Cameron Parker PO. Make sure to follow on that one. You can also see the stream on Jordan's X Twitter handle, and that is at Jordan2 Lopez. We are also going live on Brandon's Twitter feed. He is not here tonight, but we are going live over there as well. So make sure you retweet him, retweet Jordan's live stream, retweet mine live stream, retweet the one from the MHRT Network. We are live basically everywhere. So it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast to talk about, as we said, a Denver Broncos victory Jordan, I feel like saying comeback fashion isn't doing enough justice because I feel like it's saying it's like so poorly. It's just like, because like that is such a, like, that is a game that is going to be in the record books where it's like, it was comeback fashion, but it was like, I don't know how to describe it. Like it was a special game.
Magical, improbable. I mean, any similar adjectives that that can relate to that. I mean,
yeah.
Watching it on the TV, I can't imagine being at the stadium like how you were, but at least for the TV copy, it was a roller coaster of emotions with the great Kevin Harlan and him narrating the game and kind of like just storytelling the game. Man, just again, it's hard to put into words just what team we were looking at through the first three quarters. And then all of a sudden, it's just a different game.
Yeah. What's up, Victory Lap? And you're all good, man. As long as you're watching the stream, wherever it is, YouTube, X, whatever, you're watching the stream and you're along for the ride. So yeah, it's I guess it's only appropriate that we replay the clip from last week.
Yeah, they had us the first half. I'm not gonna lie, they had us. We weren't defeated, but they had.
Maybe not the first half, but they had us like for the first three quarters. They had us, and everything. But no, that was, man, that was something. And yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Jordan and I were actually talking, and it's also, we have a tweet that actually just got posted on the Mainly Broncos Twitter handle. Go check it out. So I know, Victory Lap, you're not on social, but we might actually end up posting it on the other places for like short form. So make sure you go check it out, because we did a clip of when Bo called out the fans of asking them to leave early, and we clip a certain scene from a movie that I'm sure a lot of fans will get a kick out of just before we went live. But let's. I obviously it's really easy to get wrapped up in whatever that fourth quarter was, which was, Tebow on Bo Kane. But like, before we talk about that, because it's easy to say that, let's talk about that negative. Let's talk about that negative, which was the first three quarters, and honestly, Jordan, because I know a lot of people feel like it's a one-sided issue, a two-sided issue. We'll dive into it. Obviously, it's some of the stuff that we've been talking about before, but this is when I was kind of like watching it back through a little bit again, it felt like for me, this was like the pure like execution, also probably some vanilla offense, right? As Victor Lab mentioned in the comments, but it's just like, but it was a like ultimate like execution problem for the Broncos in those first 3 quarters.
It was. I mean, looking back at it, I did see unfortunately, the first half back. I mean, I watched the whole game back, but particularly like focusing more on what happened in the first half, a lot of it was execution. Now, you can also play devil's advocate and be like, hey, if something's not working, maybe not go back to it again and again and again, and maybe even again. But again, I think if the execution was there, we'd be having a different conversation when it comes to the first half. But I think it all started with like the first drive, right? There's been just off the top of my head, I mean, I don't know if you can remember, Cam, at least 3 games I can remember this season alone where the first drive, it like kind of dictates the whole first half. I mean, the first drive in this game, we got 2 drops to start the game, and then automatic 3 and out. In the Eagles game, I vividly remember the ball that Bo Nix had to Courtland Sutton, and the ball was dropped there. That would have been a huge gain, and that was the very first drive. I'm pretty sure the Titans game as well, the very first game of the season, there was a play maybe. I don't know if it was the Titans game or maybe another game, but one of those other games, again, opening drive, just another drop or just a miscue, and boom, stall out for not only the rest of the quarter but the rest of the half. So, those, I know it's just one drive, but the opening drive makes like it is very significant for the rest of the half. You can generate so much momentum and just rhythm and flow for the rest of the half. And right now, the Broncos just, again, they shoot themselves in the foot every opening drive, and it's contagious. It really is.
And it really just stalls everything. It really does stall everything. Victor Lap mentions, you're a Celtics fan. He's a Lakers fan.
Oh,
obviously NBA season is in full swing. Actually, it's in full swing. That just got started.
Yep.
Right now. And so it's it's gonna be a fun season. Obviously, you could tell I have not just the new Super Bowl 50 chain, but I have had that Nuggets banner over there on the left. We may dabble a few times here and there with some NBA talk, just because I know Jordan likes to talk some basketball. So we'll definitely have some opportunities to talk about some basketball. I think that's like some tweak that we'll talk about. We won't talk about it a lot, but like it feels appropriate for Jordan, being a basketball fan, to at least talk about basketball. So, so we'll definitely have some basketball talk here and there during the season. But I think it's just it's one where it's like it is like it does feel like the perfect microcosm of where this team is, not just like starting early in the season slow, but also like when you have it from the season point of view and the beginning of quarters points, like they do start slow. And it does kind of, to your point, it makes it so that they're a bit sluggish out of the gate and the execution is a bit in slow motion, which I thought that too often in those 3 quarters, the team was just moving in slow motion. Like the team was moving in slow motion. And we'll talk about it, obviously, like the amount of screens is definitely an issue, right? Like the amount of screens is definitely an issue. I will say this though, and I don't, and I mean this actually in more of a compliment to Sean Payton to a degree, but like not so much when it comes to the players, because I felt like half of those, if not 3/4 of the screens, could have done a better job in perimeter blocking.
Yep.
Like quite a bit better in perimeter blocking. Obviously there was a famous post out there by like the Sleeper Broncos account where like they were tweeting like the famous like halfback swing from for the college football game, and that was like the famous play of like making fetch happen, even though it's like not happening at all. With RJ Harvey or Bidet or whoever they would run it with. But it was just like it's just I felt like too much. It was like an execution thing,
Yeah.
for that wide receiver room, or for even at times, Evan Ingram on the the perimeter, which is so frustrating because you see some of the players in the room, they are more than capable, specifically in its history. Like Trent Sherfield specifically is a good blocking wide receiver. Like he was brought in to be a good blocking wide receiver. Pat Bryant is, at least at this point, shown to be a good blocking wide receiver. Cortland Sutton, at times is their wide receiver one, but he's also well known in his career to be a good blocking wide receiver for this team. Maybe at this point in his career, the best blocking wide receiver that had been on the team. So Jordan, like, I know you're super critical about the wide receivers themselves, and obviously, us being, at times with Sean Payton and his screens, but this was like maybe one of the few times where, Sean called a ample amount of screens, but the players weren't helping like at all when it came to the perimeter blocking on that.
I agree with you. And, the irony is that I was getting so frustrated during the game with just the amount of screen calls, despite I love screen passes. I love it. And it's kind of that love-hate thing, because when you don't execute it, it looks bad, and it is bad. But at the same time, like, again, vividly remember the one Evan Ingram on the perimeter, completely whiffs his block. If he blocks there, I mean, I would think it was for Harvey on the one that Ingram was blocking. I mean, Harvey had a one-on-one, would have gotten an easy first down and probably more. Again, at the end of the day, it comes down to execution. I know there's a lot of, and including me, I mean, at one point I was fed up with the play calling as well, but I think we'd be having a different I know we'd be having a different conversation if the execution was better on those screen calls. Now, do we have to call? Do you know the final total? Was it 11?
I think it was somewhere above the tens.
Yeah,
like an 11.
Now, do we have to call it 10 plus?
Yeah.
Maybe not, but again, Sean saw something in the Giants defense where he thought he can exploit, and maybe that was a screening game. And listen, maybe if we did execute better, we would have seen a more explosive passing game within the screens. I know Sean is like the master of the screen pass, and he really coaches it up with all the details and stuff like that. But I think it gets to the point where, and I hate to criticize a coach like Sean Payton, because obviously he knows what he's doing. He's a future Hall of Famer and all that. But I guess my only thing is, if you see the 6th, 7th, 8th time that you've done screen passes, your players are just not executing on that day for whatever reason, let it go for a bit, especially with a guy like Bo. I know we'll get into it, but you just gotta let him sling the rock. You gotta let him do it, because I'm sorry, but this the talk around him, whether it's social media or anything, I mean, it's getting laughable and comical, and I think it's starting to creep in a bit. And I know those things do kind of creep in, because now we hear national analysts talk about it a little bit, but you just gotta let the quarterback play.
Yeah, it's one too where maybe it's from my view, where it's like I don't necessarily see this as a call that Bo Nix has been the problem for this team. And I said this on 5280 yesterday, or even last week, but it's like we may have even had this discussion last week, but it's just I don't know if maybe he's operating so much on the screens idea because Bo Nix is the problem, because I don't believe that. Maybe he's just operating from the standpoint of we're on our 4th left guard this year, and we're also having some high snap issues with Luke Wattenberg, which we'll talk about, of course. Which that is the center is.
It's a problem.
It's a problem. It's maintaining to be a little bit of a problem, but I think maybe the reason why he's doing this is because the offensive line, specifically at that left guard spot, like specifically there, has just been a bit of a turnstile early on, due to that injury. And so it's making sure that, like, we're at least comfortable because it's like an extension of the running game. That's why people like that with the scream. It's an extension of the running game. The problem is, and I think this is where it gets to be a bit of like the offensive side of it when it comes to Vic Fangio, in the sense like he's just like beating them like a drum, and I think that maybe it's just because like they weren't doing it. So Sean was like, it's like that. It's like those famous coaches, right? Like, where you had like the most brutal game where you got beat by 40 in basketball. And then at the end of the game, your coach has you run like suicides after a game. Like it felt like that, from the standpoint with Sean, but it was like in game, like, and it was in the regular season. And granted, it's in air quotes early enough, but it was just like, look, you guys are really sucking at this. I'm going to make you pay. We're going to run 15 screens until we get it right. Like that's kind of like what it felt like to a degree. And probably knowing how Sean is egotistically, I wouldn't put it past him thinking that way.
Yeah, and then I would also say, like, now that I'm coaching basketball, and I've had many, like, even our last fall league game on Monday, like, throughout the game, I vividly remember, and I'm not gonna lie, after my basketball game, I kind of had that conversation with myself about maybe what Peyton was going through, just because I see how they're playing their coverages on defense, right? And I'm calling a play. My players don't execute it well, but it's open, and it's there. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna call it again, and then didn't execute again, even though the guy was wide open. So then after I called the timeout, I'm there. But then after the game, I'm like, maybe this is like how Peyton felt. Like he saw something within the defense. He saw something within the Giants defense, right? Whether it was the type of leverage the corners were playing with, that maybe if you get really good blocks on the perimeter, we can take one. He must have saw something on film, even at the that he kept on hammering it. And I kind of got that feeling like, maybe we shouldn't like really, really hammer Payne on this.
Yeah.
Maybe see something we don't, because that's probably for sure
because because it's like it's not suicides, but it's like suicides where you guys aren't getting it, so I'm gonna just do it until the dogs come home, and until you guys actually get it through your thick skull that this is actually available. I need you guys to block your tail off.
Yeah, so like I got it from that standpoint.
So that might be it, and obviously Sean is a bit egotistical, to where I wouldn't put it past him. The other side of it too is Bo, for to call it for what it was, he was a bit inaccurate, and and I think that just kind of comes to where it really kind of boils down maybe to that first drive as well. But I think the other part of it too is where he still battles a little bit with his footwork issue. And I think that's early on. And that is still a very much an early on thing. But it is evident, and we'll get into the positives. When he sets his feet, and it's very clear and obvious, when he's going through his 3 and 5 step drops, he's a very different quarterback. Yeah. And then the other side of it is when you start to use a little bit more of that running game and an extension of that running game. And when you are committed to running the football, that's when you start to see the ideas of the Bo designed runs, or even some toss crack plays, that you can see with J.K. Dobbins, and a little bit more effectiveness. I will say one of the parts that I think has been criticized, and I want to know your thoughts on this, because I might have a slightly different issue, and maybe it's just because I've got the Bo Nix rose glasses on, but it's the batted passes issue. Is that an issue, do you feel like, with Bo, or do you feel like batted passes themselves are an art to an NFL game, and it's about timing, and it's about understanding with where things are? as a defender, because I figure it's like, for me, it's like it's an art. Like it's about that execution, it's about timing. There's probably a few plays where Bo probably could have done a little bit of a better job on a pass. Like obviously, Sean got a bit too cute there at the red zone getting it to Garrett Bowles, but if Bo kind of sets his feet a little bit and then throws it over the defender, you're probably talking about a touchdown to Garrett Bowles, or the play where there was two defenders on the right where he threw it around the first defender, but there's another edge defender where it was almost picked, and I think it was Robertson Harris in that first half where he almost picked it off. I think those are the kind of plays where you probably want to throw it down on the ground and see the nearest defender and live to see another down. So, but I want to know what your thoughts are as far as like some of those like batted passes, because I think for me at least it feels like a bit of an art for a defensive player.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, a few of the batted balls that the Giants had were just great plays. Like you can't even fault Bull for a few of them. I will say though, like watching Baker play, watching some of the like 6'1", 6'2" type quarterbacks play, and like especially Baker, just because I love Baker Mayfield, and I think that comparison between Baker and Bo is a real thing. Like I saw Baker have a lot of bad passes as well, and like that it's a theme. I wonder, I was trying to search this up right now for who leads the league at quarterback at batted balls. There's not really like an official statistic, at least like what I'm getting through right now, preliminary. But I would like to know which quarterback is at the top for batted balls at the line of scrimmage, because I would like to like compare and contrast. Maybe if it's really an issue with Bo, or maybe it's not. I don't think it is. I think it's kind of a little between both of it's just good plays between the defense and timing and rhythm between the offense. But I mean, I think Peyton Manning even like I know he's joked about it. I don't know if he's really serious about it, but always on his Manning cast, he's like, he hates when defensive linemen always bat the balls down because they really don't pass rush. They're just lazy. But yeah, I would like to really see if we can get like a number on that.
Well, and I think it's because of the last game, but Bo does lead the league in batted passes. This was the corner Pro Football Focus, but everybody's love child, Pat Mahomes, is third.
Really?
In batted balls. Patrick Mahomes has 8. And you know who he's tied with 8 actually, and we'll talk about this, but a little bit later. Guess who has 8? Dak Prescott.
Oh, interesting.
So we'll see if some of those Bo Nix haters keeps the same energy a little bit. If Dak if Dak's having some passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, so that's interesting. But again, Bo had like, actually, how many did he have? Let's look at this. How many did he have in that game?
Man, I would say 5.
He had 5. He had 5.
Oh,
he had 5 passes. So you take away like 2, right? 2 or 3. He's not leading the league. That one game against the Giants put him in number 1. So to a certain extent, it's somewhat of an anomaly on that. But again, I think for me, it's like a volleyball player to me. Like, it's understanding and timing of when to jump in the air, when knowing the fact of like taking advantage of where an offensive lineman is, or a tackle or a guard or a center, and knowing with where their placement is and with where their hands are, to where I could be able to, stand up in the air and bat the pass down and everything. And so I think it's a bit more of like an art thing. And, the other part is like the defensive line for the Giants is really good. And their defense in general is really good, top to bottom, with their linebacking core and safety core. Even though Javon Holland, I believe, was injured, I don't think he returned to the game, but, Tyler Newman is no slouch. Their corners played pretty well. I mean, Andrew Phillips and Debo went out, but Phillips, had himself a pretty decent game on that screen game and everything. So I mean, all things to consider, I think the front seven, at least, and through those 3 quarters, really owned the Broncos on the on that and basically, for all intents and purposes, the entire game except for 1 quarter.
Yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock into it. I think if it becomes a consistent theme, then I think we can talk about it a little bit more. But as of right now, just because how the game played out in the fourth, I mean, it really wasn't an issue in the fourth at all. I don't think he even had one pass deflected at all in the fourth. I wouldn't put too much into it, but again, if we got quarterbacks like Dak Prescott and Mahomes also in the top 3 or 5, I mean, it looks like it's not that big of a deal. But yeah.
Sam Darnold is 8.
I
Jalen Hurts is 9. So some of the top quarterbacks are in the top 10 for batted passes. It's a thing.
Yeah, we like to amplify a lot of things when it comes to our quarterbacks, even though if you just take a look around the league and just watch another game, there are some similar things going on between those top high-tier quarterbacks.
And, Jackson Dart had 2.
Yeah.
And then so there were almost close to 10 passes batted down in 1 game, which is wild. You ready to talk about the legendary fourth quarter?
Man, oh man, what did we watch?
You and I talked about it. In the green room, and I even said on 5280, but it was just Tebow time had magic, but it was sprinkled. There was a magical play or plays, right? But not a full quarter where plays were happening, execution was happening, and it was just what is going on? We are getting punched in the mouth and we can't respond, that type of thing, And let me ask you this, because this is probably the most important question, and I think I know the answer to it. It was 33 points. 33 points in a quarter, but was it an anomaly?
I mean, there's really it's hard to describe what we saw. I don't know if there's a single adjective. Well, I mean, would you say it was that?
No.
But
the reason why I say that is just because the execution was just flawless. Execution was flawless. And it wasn't really like the Giants were playing soft coverage. There were moments of soft coverage, right?
Yeah.
There are moments of soft coverage, but it was it was something where it was just the execution down the field and down seams, and even not the middle part of the field, but pushing the ball down the field and getting some of those explosive plays, and then seeing extensions of the running game, seeing extensions of Bo use his legs, everything that we had been wanting to see, and up tempo being a massive thing with this team. And at home, it's like they finally woke up. It's like they finally woke up and they realized we're back home, and they're going to have a quarter where it's all going to click. And, there were only a few plays where luck was involved, like the Troy Franklin touchdown, right? But for all intents and purposes, it was execution to its max, and perfect clock management too, and game management from Sean Payton.
Yeah. What I think in the fourth quarter, just pushing the ball down the field was obviously more evident. That's quite obvious, but it was the urgency that they played with in the fourth quarter. It was, again, the play calling. It it was obviously like you're not gonna throw screen passes when you're down 19. You're gonna have to push the ball down the field, and that's where I kind of want to get at. Like I know a lot of people say like we have to start acting like we're down 19 to begin the game, but
It's a joke, but yeah.
But again, we need to establish not because our run game against the Giants inconsistent at best, but we gotta let it rip. And I understand the whole he's trying to hide Bo Nix. I don't want to hear it. I don't. I'm tired of and I understand what they mean by that. Like these people, he's trying to hide them. I understand what that means, but if he really is trying to hide him, I think that's completely wrong, and he should stop. Do I think he's trying to? I don't think so. I just think it was just a bad day for Champagne play calling wise. But we're talking about a guy who just had a historic rookie season, who continues to show you that he can make plays more often than not. I mean, he has like how many starts does he have now? Like 24?
Mm-hmm.
He has 24 starts under his belt where he has shown you he can push the ball downfield. Yes, has he had issues with accuracy this year, throwing the ball deep? He has. Again, no one's going to hit on every single one, but last year he was among the top passers throwing the ball deep. This year he's struggling a bit, but doesn't mean that we should shy away from it. Doesn't mean we should shy away from anything. Let Bo develop and continue to develop.
Let Bo cook.
And again, he's only in his second year.
Yeah.
So he's still going to go through his up and downs. We just got to live with it.
Well, and the other side of this too, and the other layer of this is that, listen, I realize in totality, in the total package, like he's got way more starts under his belt when you compound it with college. But the NFL is a different beast. Like, it is a very different animal. I don't know how often Jordan or myself or anybody else needs to say this, because like he has 24 starts under his belt, which is, way more than JJ McCarthy, because he's riding the bench injured. Everybody's darling that was even above Bo Nix is riding the bench injured, and like, and so I think that when you look at Bo Nix, like, I even said it today, and I can't take credit because Sayer said it in our Slack chat, but it's like, but he's right. Like, if Drake May and Jaden Daniels had the exact same game, that's the whole point, by the way. For anybody is, saying like, why would you do this, or why, anything like this, about like trying to even debate or trying to like debate this. All we're saying is you put Drake May and Jaden Daniels in the exact same situation, knowing what we know now about how those two quarterbacks, the poster child for everybody as of late this year, they are going to be getting glazed on SportsCenter, on NFL Network, everywhere. And meanwhile, Bo Nix is going to end up being criticized for the 3 quarters. Oh, he had that fourth quarter. But man, Drake May in that fourth quarter, Jaden Daniels in that fourth quarter. Great example of this, actually. Jaden Daniels had a terrible game last year against the Chicago Bears. Terrible game against the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
But you know what people focus solely on? A Hail Mary pass. Hail Mary pass where some Bears guy was twerking, over in the corner of the end zone, and then realizing it's a Hail Mary play. The entire media was so focused on Jaden Daniels throwing a stinking Hail Mary, that like that's all they were glazing it. And frankly, if I remember right, that weekend Bo went off.
Yep.
But that's all everybody wanted to talk about was Jaden Daniels' Hail Mary. So don't tell me, like, well, what are we doing here? It's like, it is abundantly obvious who is, one of the hated of the 3 quarterbacks right now in the National Football League.
And Jaden Daniels' pass consisted of luck. Like, you need luck in order to get a Hail Mary. What Bo did in the fourth, I mean, that's not luck. You have to do it. Yeah, Bo had to drive in and drive out, produce points every single time. And not just like field goals. He had to go down, get a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. So like these were multiple drives. Did he have one lucky play with that Troy Franklin touchdown? Yeah, he did. But the rest of the drives, I don't think so.
And so the reason why I say it's not an anomaly, is just because no, it wasn't 33 points, but we saw it 2 weeks prior against the Super Bowl champions
on the road
in their own building, in a building that they don't lose. And so it's just one where when you look just on the surface for what was that fourth quarter, that is the ceiling of not just Bo Nix, but the entire offense of how far it can go if it is operated under the up-tempo or I should say the mix of up-tempo and no-huddle offense mixed in with Evan Ingram in the flats, pushing the ball down the field. And then I know for a fact, even despite some of the stuff pushing, the ball down the field on the left side and the right side, like I know that even Bo Nix can be operating well in the middle part of the field. And that's the other part of this too, Jordan, where it's like people want to say, where is the middle part of the field so far this year? That's the other side of this is last year he was good in the middle part of the field when it was some of that too. So it's just like, it's not like this is a type of thing where he can't do it at all. Like he's clearly shown it last year, that he could be able to do it. It's just, there's just a part of it where for some reason this year, we haven't seen it consistently enough. But I think that fourth quarter was just an amalgamation of a lot of different things for a ceiling. And that, again, the ceiling of this offense is going to go as far as Bo Nix goes. And for what we saw there in that quarter, is it too hot to say this? Bo Nix played like a top 3 quarterback in the National Football League in that quarter. Frankly, you could argue top 1 quarterback in the entire National Football League because he put up numbers that Lamar Jackson hasn't put up, Josh Allen has never put up, and the poster child after Tom Brady never did anything like that in Patrick Mahomes. Like it was something that you will never see again, and it happened with Bo Nix.
I mean, Cam, he had 4 total touchdowns in 1 quarter and led his team. And by the way, I know statistically the Giants may not have the numbers defensively. Their defensive line is outrageous. So I understand that their numbers may not show it right now, but I'm willing to bet a good amount of money by the end of the year the Giants statistically will have good numbers. But even so, like that defense is good. Like they're good. So to do it against that in a comeback fashion and with so many things that you have to play perfect in that quarter to come back, and he did. So I couldn't agree more with you there with what you just said. It's a shame, and I know I can go on a whole rant about it, but the whole Bo Nix questioning him every week if he's the guy or not, it has to stop. I know it won't stop, and I know I'm not going to be the guy that stops it.
Yeah.
I just ignore it at this point, but it is very annoying going on social media and reading it's getting stupid at this point. Very, very stupid posts asking if he's still the guy. Can he do this? Can he do that? If he didn't prove that in his rookie year, and if he hasn't proven that to you now with the comebacks that he's done and all that, what he's just shown on film, then I don't know what to tell you. Because if you think he's still bad and still fraudulent and he's still putting up these numbers, then imagine on your standards if he starts to play better. So
yeah. Well, and if the Giants defense was gassed,
there's a reason why.
Well, but I was just gonna say you guys were up. Like that's actually sad because you guys were up 19-0 and you're gassed. When the Broncos did nothing. But I just think that the other, like, you just have to also call it for what it is, and that is the C word with Bo Nix. He is clutch. Like, Bo is absolutely clutch, and I would much rather have a quarterback that can take his quarterback and win the games that matter in the fourth quarter than anything else. And I will take that any day. And before we jump into some of the other stuff and we hand out game balls, from a I want to know this because you are a basketball coach, because scoring 33 points in a quarter is like you don't see it in the NFL, but like I feel like in like the NBA side of things or in any other sport, scoring 33 points in a quarter, I feel like in basketball terms is like scoring 60 to 70 points in a quarter. Right?
I would say it's equivalent to scoring 55 points in a quarter, maybe. I mean, you at least have to make 8 threes minimum in a quarter to get those type of numbers.
Like, it's absurd. Going on, obviously, we were maybe glazing Bo Nix a little bit there, but like it was an all parties thing. Like, it was an all parties thing in that fourth quarter, and a lot of people in that Broncos offense played exceptional football, and we have to give them their due. So let's hand out some game balls. Obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't lead off a game ball with Bo Nix. It was not going to be given out a game ball, obviously, because Nix even said himself that he was already preparing for the worst when it came to the press conference. He even said that. But so he wasn't necessarily going to be given a game ball. But then with that fourth quarter that we saw, Jordan, it's pretty easy to give him a game ball. But there's another player who you want to talk about freezing cold takes between you and I for possibly Troy Franklin being wide receiver 2. There's another player, and I know Victory Lap's quite happy about this, but like there's a player that is emerging as not just the only clutch player in Denver, and it's wide receiver Marvin Mims.
I wrote about it on Predominantly Orange right after the game. I mean, Sean Payne needs to find a way to give him the ball more consistently, and that doesn't mean screen passes. I'm talking about down the field. Listen, he's our most dynamic player on the team with the ball in his hands. He is. And the fact that he has only had 2 games where he's played more than 50% of the snaps is crazy to me. 2 games where he's played only 50% of the snaps. I don't see how that's even like that it's mind-boggling to me. Like, your best players should be on the field consistently. Marvin Mims is one of those guys, and he needs to get the ball.
What happened in that fourth quarter? You had when they went up tempo no huddle, you had Ingram on the field, you had Mims on the field, you had Sutton on the field, you had Franklin on the field. They had speed, and I think the part of it that I think makes Mims so fascinating, and why I at least to a certain extent understood the Debo comparisons is when Mims has the ball in his hands, he looks like a running back. You even see it at times when he's a punt returner, because like the way he reads and the way he reads things, it is like another extension of a running back. And so I can understand why the Broncos in certain situations, even last year, were giving out handoffs to Mims or even utilizing him out of the backfield. But like the reasons why I was kind of saying like it's a bit like Harvin is because he's got that game changer speed, as was alluded to in the comments. Like he makes these clutch catches that no, it was not necessarily intended for him on that throw, but it still takes a high IQ and high intelligent player to turn around, understanding the moment, and realize
be there at the right time.
Yeah, and then realize that the ball's at the back of your head, or you got eyes in the back of your head, and like he turns around and he's right there. And yeah, Bo admitted that the pass was definitely to Cortland, but like if Mims doesn't turn around, it's going the other way. Like it is going the other way, but like he's just such a heady player. And I think that the other side of this too, Jordan, that I think is I hope is going to end up being a bit used a little bit more is now you don't have to utilize Cortland Sutton as much on some of these fade routes that they execute so much, because I think with Mims' ball tracking and high pointing of the ball for as small as he is,
very good.
You can do some of those back shoulder throws with him down the sideline in opportunities where only he can catch it. So like, yeah, you can do those catches and he's going to execute them.
It just looks like whenever I watch the Broncos offense compared to the other offenses, everything is like so hard for us. We don't have like an easy outlet where we can go to and pick up easy yards. I think Marvin Mims can be that guy. And again, I think you said it great. His ball tracking skills are amazing, and I think he could be utilized intermediately as well, which I would love to see. But he needs to be a guy that needs to play more than 50% of the snaps. I mean, if I'm being quite honest, he should be on the field for more than 65% of the snaps. And I know Sean Payne loves the mass personnel stuff that he does and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if we're going from 11 personnel to 12 personnel, Mims needs to stay in there as one of the receivers. But like, I don't know. It's very hard for receivers to get to such a rhythm when they're going in and out, in and out.
Yep.
I know it's Sean's plan, and maybe he's trying to outsmart the other coach, but I think at the end of the day, he's outsmarting himself.
Yeah.
But my whole thing right now with the receivers is your best receivers have to be on the field more times than not.
Yeah. So Mims gets a game ball, right?
Yes.
Mims gets a game ball. Who else on the offense or the team in general gets a game ball?
Hey, I think Alex Palczewski stepped in and played great. I mean,
yeah, all things considered. I mean,
from what we saw last week with the Jets to now, big upgrade at left guard. Big upgrade. So and he actually got an actual game ball from Payne.
That's right.
Too. So I think it was well deserved. I thought he played good. I didn't hear his name called much throughout the whole broadcast, which is a good thing. And I think Palczewski played good.
You know what they say? No news is good news.
No news is good news.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, you got to give it to Talanoa Hufanga. We say it every week. Like we say it every week, and like I think I even said in the chat, it's weird knowing the fact that if you were to do like a top 5, that like 3 of the players probably in the top 5 who were free agents this last year have Bronco ties. Hufanga signs with the Broncos, Dalvin signs with the Broncos, and Javonte Williams, who the Broncos will end up playing with Dallas, are just having great seasons, like really good seasons. But Hufanga it's like he's back to that all-pro form.
Yeah.
Like it is like that one play where Nate Tice highlighted that I even saw from where I was sitting, and I know you know where I sit, Jordan, but it was just like to see it from that side of things and him play recognition and realize where that play was going immediately. Like that is some high IQ safety play that we haven't seen since 31. Like that is the kind of safety play that we really haven't seen. And was it a mishold? Yeah, it was a mishold. But it goes to show you like he can play through contact. He can play through contact. He can play through anything. Like he fought through a block with a guy grabbing his jersey and all and stopped. Wasn't that Cam Scadaboo or was it Tyrone Tracy?
I think it was Scadaboo.
But yeah, and he was like the first initial contact to stop the play. Like that was an all-pro level play by Hufanga.
Hufanga has been great. I mean, every game he makes an impact play. It almost seems like every drive he makes an impact play, if I'm being quite honest.
It's just frustrating that he's like inches away from an interception, specifically this last game, but.
Yeah, especially, I mean, he is the main guy whenever we cover one robber. He's the robbing guy in that man-to-man coverage. But he's been great. all season thus far. He's playing at an all-pro level, in my opinion. And it seems like for every game he can get a game ball. That's how well he's been playing.
Yeah.
One guy I want to highlight and give a game ball to is Malcolm Roach. Malcolm Roach has been excellent. Excellent. And I thought he had a great game against the Giants.
The low-hanging fruit is the obvious game ball of obvious game balls. And that even goes maybe even a little bit beyond Bo Nix. And that's for being the biggest liabilities outside of Dre Greenlaw. I will give a game ball to both Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad for having the biggest play of the Denver Broncos season up to this point in blowing up Cam Scatteraboo and Jackson Dart moving in front, and then Dart having his rookie mistake and throwing the pick to Justin Strnad, who's been playing really well those last 3 weeks. And my gosh, man. So credit where credit is due. The game ball, rightfully so, should be going to those two linebackers for the play of the game.
And guess what? We're going to see more of Singleton next week with Dre Greenlaw officially being suspended 1 game.
Right. But no, yeah, those two most certainly do deserve a bit of a game ball. But you know, when you look like overall too, like the Broncos defense in general against that Giants, they played pretty well. I think it was just like, I mean, Nick Bonito didn't exactly get the sacks that, he would have hoped, but that's what makes the Broncos defense so good, is it's going to end up opening the opportunities for others. And I think that maybe what the Giants thought was they were going in trying to circle Nick Bonito. But this Broncos defensive line is so good that we finally got to see Zach Allen on the ledger.
Yeah, Zach Allen. Is he like Mr. Consistent on this team?
Between he and Cooper? Well, I mean,
I guess you have to say Surtain, right? Even though it's expected.
Yeah, but I say consistent because, Cooper, of the defensive line, I will say, actually, there's quite a few people. But of the edge room, I would just say Cooper's Mr. Consistent. The interior is tricky to me because you have Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, DJ Jones, and Malcolm Roach. DJ Jones even had a game. It was just such a. So I don't know. Who would you say is then to put it back on you, who would you say is Mr. Consistent then?
I think it's Zach Allen. I think I would have to say Zach Allen.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to say possibly your best defensive player is a Mr. Consistent, but no, it also goes to show you just we really were kind of missing a little bit of some Malcolm Roach, and to see him play so well. And then DJ Jones had himself a game. Zach Allen had himself a game. Yeah. I just think that the defense at times they've got to lock in and have a little bit less in terms of the miscommunication at times, because they played great, but there were just a few times where Singleton would get lost and Bellinger got free, and and there was a bit of a miscommunication. It's where Hufanga maybe appeared bit on the run, or he was going for a bit of a lower route, and then Bellinger, increases his speed a little bit more on Singleton, and he's gone. So,
by the way, shout out Dre Greenlaw. Debut, 20 snaps, 6 tackles.
6 tackles. I just can't get over that. 6 tackles and 20% plays. Just crazy. After the game, speaking of Dre Greenlaw, after the game, Dre Greenlaw had what appeared to be a verbal altercation with the official. But I think a lot of people are questioning that whole suspension because of a certain thing that happened in the pile between the referee and Sternad. And then, of course, the things that may have happened 48 hours later on social media with the quarterback. So let's first touch on the Dre Greenlaw thing.
Yeah, it looks like Brad Allen was in the middle of the celebration, and things got hectic in there. Then just two hands shoved Justin Strnad out the way, which was actually more of a push off than what Riley Moss had on that defensive pass interference. But and then you even saw Strnad kind of react a little bit, but kind of like what went off. But boy, Greenlaw did not like that. I mean, beeline straight to Brad Allen.
I had to laugh at Pelissero though, because like Pelissero tweets this all 22, and it's like, brother, it's cut off.
Yeah. Even though there's clearly a video that has been surfacing about the actual incident, he posted an all 22 clip.
It's like you're not even showing the incident.
Yeah.
You may have been showing the Justin Sternad incident, but he wasn't. But no, it's
yeah, that was funny, but
yeah, and I think that's my problem. And I said on 5280, but it was just like the refs just have so much control on games, and it goes to beyond the NFL. It goes to the sports. You see it in baseball, you see it in basketball, you see it in football. Like the refs just control sports. And it's unfortunate when the NFL or any sport, they need to hold the refs accountable to where if there's a false accusation, they also should be reprimanded. Meaning, like, if there was something where it felt like they felt like the referees determined the outcome of a game, they need to suspend them. Or maybe not suspend them, but just do something where it is they need to fine them, or or do something to where they're criticized. They are a little bit more than a slap on the wrist, than what we're currently seeing right now. Because it seems like the NFL is solely pandering to the idea that they're the refs. They're cool, And I just think that they cannot control the outcome of the game. So.
Well, how do you feel about that Riley Moss defensive pass interference, how they called?
One more time again. One more time again. And for any... We need to have a weekly Riley Moss segment where we're debunking the haters.
It's him and Bo Nix that people go after. I mean, actually, more so than that, they go after Moss more.
But it's like, and to the point of like the referees thing, it's like they're trying to make an example out of Riley. And the thing that is just so frustrating is, and in the back of my mind, it's like it was so predetermined that flag was coming that I should never have been disappointed, and I was disappointed. Because maybe from like where I was sitting, it looked like pass interference, but then you see the other side of it, and oh, by the way, you hear PS2 talk about it on his pod with Terrion Arnold, which was released like an hour or two before our show. But like you look at it, Riley does it again in the same fashion against like that, that happened with the Philadelphia Eagles. He is quite literally in the perfect position. He does what any defensive back probably should do that would negate the possibility of pass interference. He turns around, right? Yep. He turns around, and then Melton, or whatever the guy's name is, or the wide receiver for the Giants, is quite literally bear hugging him, mauling him to death. And it wasn't the referee that was next to them to call it. It was the freaking ref that was like 10 yards down the field who threw the flag, like from the other side. So it's like, what did you see from that vantage point that the guy who was 2 inches away saw nothing? So it's just like, I don't know. It was something where they just wanted to make an example out of it, or it's like, oh man, this is late. Call it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that we play a lot of man-to-man, so there are going to be calls that go against us, but it just feels like it's too many at this point. Whenever they show the replay and they bring in the rules analyst, more often than not, they always bring in the rules analyst, and it's always, I don't think this should have been called every single time.
It'd be hysterical. So the Broncos, when, maybe this is a good transition into our Cowboys preview, but, truthfully, Moss is going to have a hard time. Moss is going to have a hard time against George Pickens, because the one area where it seems like he and really any corner does struggle with it is the back shoulder catch. Yeah. But it feels like, because of everything that happened with Riley this week, I would laugh hysterically if not only he has an interception, but Moss also has perfect coverage all game, and he doesn't even get flagged at all.
I would love it.
Just based on all the circumstances of the week and everything, it would be very fitting for how the week went.
It'd be poetic, kind of. Yeah, he has a very tough task now with George Pickens. I wonder if Vance ever thinks about the Belichick method of put your best corner on the wide receiver 2 and double their best wide receiver. I wonder if that ever is a topic of conversation. But that PS2 CD Lamb matchup is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Dak is going to force feed George Pickens. So it's going to be very, very interesting how they manage that. And let me tell you, that Cowboys offense, they're really, really good. Mm-hmm. Luckily, their defense is the opposite of that. Now, here's what comes into play, though. Sean Payne needs to have a great game alongside Bo Nix.
Yeah.
But more so, the play calling from the jump needs to be on point.
Yeah. It's just going to be something where you got to see it for all 4 quarters, because if you don't see it for all 4 quarters, the Broncos are going to lose by 2 scores. And I think it's going to be a shootout. I think that this is going to be a shootout.
Romo type.
It better not be. It better not be. 52-49, and I'm getting ready to leave for a softball game, and I'm in the car, and I'm parked, and I'm got my softball uniform on, and I'm listening to the end of the game, and I'm hearing Matt Prater kick the game-winning field goal. I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that again.
Man, but throwbacks.
They are undefeated as of late in the Peyton era in throwbacks.
There's just a different type of vibe going into the game with the throwbacks.
Man,
it's a tough game, though. It's going to be a tough game.
I can't remember if I had this as a loss at the beginning of the year. But
I can see a way where the Broncos easily lose this game, and I can see a way where the Broncos easily win this game. That's how up and down not only have the Broncos been, but what the Cowboys have been as well, because that defense is really bad.
Well, and the other side of this, too, is the Broncos have beaten the Cowboys for 30 years.
We do own them.
Listen, we were in the dumps when it came to the Broncos and the Chiefs. Maybe as of late, Broncos and the Raiders. Broncos and the Chargers maybe as of right now. But we've owned the Cowboys for 30 years. 30 years. Can you imagine being a Dallas Cowboys fan knowing the fact that, doesn't matter who the quarterback is? The Broncos are the Cowboys' daddy. Teddy
Bridgewater went into Dallas and won that game.
And the now retired Caden Stearns had one of the best interceptions that I can recall on Dak Prescott. And by the way, too, it's Dak is having a great year, and nothing he is balling out. But it feels like one of those games where specifically defensively, and now the Broncos had a turnover under its belt. It feels to a certain extent like Dak is due. And, we even said that in the Chargers game. Obviously, the Chargers won that game, but Herbert didn't exactly have the greatest game.
Nope.
He didn't have the greatest game. And I think that for the Broncos, the biggest thing here defensively is they've got to be able to create pressure on Dak Prescott. They got to be able to create pressure on Prescott. They also have to neutralize the running game. And I think they will for the most part. But, Javonte is playing well. Javonte is playing well. Frankly, he's probably in the top 5 as far as comeback player of the year candidates. He's up there as far as comeback player of the year. And, and they got weapons. Don't forget about Jake Ferguson, or I should say Mr. Cavender. Don't forget about him. He's
been really good too.
He's a pretty solid tight end for him. And obviously with the liability that is Singleton and Sternad at times, that could be an area where they expose, maybe more so than the George Pickens side of things. So, yeah, it's going to be it is going to be a very interesting game. But I think it's going to be a shootout. Gosh, I will say Broncos pull it out 35-31.
Wow. I have a very similar score. Again, I can see it very easily being the Cowboys winning. I can very easily see it being the Broncos winning as well. But the Broncos have a lot of advantages in this game, at least statistically whenever I look at it. Whether it's rushing against a stacked box, rushing against a light box, just overall rushing efficiency, red zone, stuff like that. I do think I don't want to call it the mile high magic and all that, but I do think we see more of a consistent presence on the offense. And they kind of put a game together here. I'm not going to say they put a game together for all 4 quarters because, we're going to see a screen pass here and there, and it's going to get blown up because someone can't block and whatnot. And I think they will stall out a bit. But I do think at the end of the day, Denver does win the game 30-27.
30-27. And I think that this is a really underrated point when we kind of tie everything back together to when we were talking about, the beginning and the sluggish starts and, and everything. I think people need to remember, and I'm not trying to make too much of an excuse on this when it comes to the offense or the team in general. Typically, when a team comes back from London or overseas, you get a bye week.
Yes.
And the Broncos, specifically Sean Payton, made the decision to come back home, and they have 2 home games. So there, I think, gives at least some credence to the idea for jet lag, time difference, and, just getting adjusted. So that at least adds some credence to the idea of maybe the Broncos were just, not all that acclimated yet with, the fact that they were back home or into their normal time zone, if you will. And I think that given the fact they have another home game is a beautiful thing for that schedule. Kind of looking back on it now, whether it is win or lose, I think is a good thing for this team. And it also helps too that they got the win against the Giants, but they also have another NFC game to where, look, I'm just saying, like, if they lost it, it's not the total loss in the world because it's not like you're losing against an AFC foe.
Correct. That, I mean, you can kind of say that this was I'll say it's one of their hardest parts in the schedule. Coming back from that, starting with the Philly game in Philly, then traveling to London right after the game, and then coming back and playing the Giants, who were red hot. And then, I think this was a rough. I think they weathered the storm kind of good if you were the Broncos here. And listen, the way you win that game against the Giants, that momentum does carry. So
we said it that the identity game should have, in air quotes, should have been that Bengals game. The identity for you now that you've seen it, and the Mile High Magic that you've seen, should be that fourth quarter against the Giants. It's got to continue now. So if there's anything that should, one, cause Sean Payton to change things, two, cause Bo Nix to play a little bit more freely and a little bit more out of structure than normal, it's that fourth quarter.
Yep.
And
this is a perfect opponent to do it against. If we struggle offensively in this game, then there will have to be a bit of a soul searching going on within the offense.
I will say this, though, not to maybe get a little bit too overreactionary, but if the Broncos do pull out this win in whether it's convincing fashion or it's a win, even though they've beaten Dallas for 30 years, you will see the Broncos get some national attention here because they will be 6-2, even though they are like the second seed in the NFL right now. They're going to be getting some national attention, and so much so that people would be looking at that Broncos and Dallas game as possibly a Super Bowl preview with how these teams have been playing, at least in the early part of the season. So I'm just saying, be prepared that if the Broncos do come away with that win, or if they come away with the win, be prepared for a lot of media attention to come the Broncos' way.
That's what happens when you play the Cowboys. So
that is what happens.
You just got to perform.
Yeah. Yes, make sure you go and tune in to the Broncos Buzz, and hopefully we'll be able to see them there on Broncos Buzz. You guys can see them. I believe it's on 6 o'clock Mountain Time on Fridays. That is with Kona Spence and obviously Bronco Bill. They're on Fridays. You could also tune into any show. Obviously we do live shows, but you can go back and watch some of the shows that you missed. If you guys missed this show, you guys can go back and watch that after this is done on the MHRT Network channel, or any other shows that you might have missed for mainly, or Kona Spence's Bronco Buzz, or even the 5280 podcast, or even the Cluster Puck podcast, because the Av season is underway, and we certainly care about the the Colorado Avalanche and not the New Jersey Devils.
Hottest team in hockey right now.
The Avs, I agree. And then and then of course there's the Wild Wild West show, which was just before this one, which is a look into the AFC West, which is such a fun time. I do not miss doing almost 3 hour shows, but they are almost close to doing 3 hour shows at times on during some nights. I don't know how they do it, but make sure you tune into their shows for the Wild Wild West. And again, hit that subscribe button for the MHRT Network page if you are new, and new to the network. Hit that subscribe button. If you're also new on mainly Broncos and you're watching this on the stream, please hit that subscribe button. We had just created that YouTube channel, And as Jordan found out like in 2 months ago, before he finally realized that, oh, I should be following the actual show on Instagram and TikTok, and make sure you follow the show handles there over there on Instagram and TikTok, as well as the X Twitter machine. We are posting a whole bunch of short form.
Yep.
We're posting a whole bunch of short form, which includes clips from the show, just funny clips, funny recaps of games. We actually just did one. I want to say it was like 10 minutes before the show, talking about how fans left early. And we did a nice little funny clip that I think for nostalgia reasons, if you like a good late 80s film, 80s, 90s film, you're gonna love it. So thank you guys to everybody who watched the show. And I think it's only fitting, Jordan, that we end it with the famous phrase.
Let's go Broncos! God bless Bo Nix!
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my life.